Everybody, welcome back to the High Performance Zone. Today we have Justin Bookey, and here's what we talk about. We talk about how you take his experiences in table tennis, world-class table tennis player, all right? It's like playing chess at 90 miles per hour, and how to adapt that to business and life. Same thing we do with the Blue Angels. Now, here's what's pretty cool, though. We go deep into rhythm. How there's a rhythm in communication, how there's a rhythm with your teammates, how there's a rhythm and how to not only get in sync, but when to shake it up to get things done, when to be agile and making really powerful decisions. So this is a dive into how do you connect ping pong with business and life. Justin and I, glad to be here. Justin, or should I say Paulie, my brother from Boston, welcome to the High Performance Zone.
Hey, Pally, good to see you here. Good to see you here, man. Happy to be here.
Tell me what Pally means in the Boston slang.
I'm not a pro at that, but I did go to school there at BU. Yeah. And I heard a term I had never really heard before. It's like, hey, Pally, what's up? It's wicked cold out here. So they just kind of use that, I think, in, what is it, the Southie area of Boston, and kind of a homey term over there. So I don't hear it much here in LA. Yeah.
No, in fact, when Sugar, who's producing this, talked to me about his background, I thought back to one of my first fighter squadrons. I had a Scoop, we called him, because he was a baseball player. Everyone gets call signs, right? And Scoop was from Boston. And I remember we took 2 jets cross country to pick up some lobsters and bring them back for a party that we were having that Sunday. Of course, that was all training. We were doing our training to get there, but. Hey man, Justin, and welcome to the show. You just had me, you interviewed me about 2 weeks ago for a new book that you're just in the process of creating, which I thought has tremendous potential, tremendous connection. And I thought we could unpack some of that. So first off, tell the audience, what is this book you are creating?
Sure, happy to. First off, it was really fun interviewing you. I found that what you had to say really matched up with one of the principles in the book. And to back up for a second, the book really is a culmination of my parallel lives. I've been in the corporate world for 25, 30 years. I was a lawyer. I was a marketing strategist, early web 1.0 days.
Wow.
I've been a filmmaker, been in content distribution. All that time, I've also come home at night and on the weekends, sometimes in the days, and played competitive table tennis ever since I was a little kid. And I play at the US Open, US Nationals. My coach is an Olympian. She's amazing. I've never fused the two worlds together, really, beyond a casual, okay, we're at the office. I might have a table there, play with my coworkers. Finally, I realized, like, you know what? I've been around some of these great minds in business, innovators, leaders at Disney, Sony, Toyota, all the amazing global companies. I've also been able to train with some of the best athletes and winners in the world, Olympians, national champions, world champions at table tennis, right? Amazing people. And then it dawned on me over the years that, you know what, these principles that innovative leaders use to succeed in the business world and in innovation and in startups, they mirror so many of these success principles at the table tennis table. And so over the years, I realized, you know what, I've learned so much from both sides. I'm able to finally fuse them together. And I just distilled, it's actually more than 20 principles. I have, it's some overlap, but I have probably 30, 40 principles. So I'm distilling that into maybe 15 or 20 for a book. That's the book I'm working on. And when I first heard you present about a lot of your success principles and fearless success, about unconscious excellence and training, it really resonated because it matched up so well with at least one of the principles in the book, and that's why we talked. So
which
that's kind of the general
that,
framework.
again, it was principle number 12, and what was it?
Yeah, that was check the boxes and then move beyond them. What that means.
Okay. Tell me more about that. Why did you think of me when you wanted to unpack that principle?
Okay, so first, quick explanation of the principle.
Yeah.
In any discipline, you need to absolutely, if you want to excel, absolutely you need to master the fundamentals. You check the boxes, whether it's basketball and learning dribbling, passing, free throws, whatever. Whether it's law, you need to get the precedent down, understand how to research, persuade, build a case, work with clients, billing, whatever. But then once you master those, you don't forget them and leave them behind. You still exercise and practice those. But once you are so fluid in those, it allows you to move beyond to the next level of higher level strategic and innovative thinking and process, right? So when I heard you talk about these incredibly high stakes technical maneuvers you were doing, whether it's a knife edge pass at 1,000 miles per hour closure, or finding the center point, maneuvering with the stick, and everything that goes into these incredible 7G force maneuvers and forcing the blood up into your head.
Book. You not only have the terminology down, Justin, you've got the essence, but keep going.
I love the book. I love your book, by the way. So I've heard you talk about it. I read it. As I went through, it just like ding, 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 because now I see the world through a filter of what I've learned through table tennis as well as business. So in hearing your materials, it really struck that, you know what, when you were talking about you were doing your training and there's a series of maneuvers you do and a series of checklists you have to absorb those and get those so ingrained they become part of you. So when a beginning pilot is told, okay, we're going to do X maneuver, they may say, okay, so they go through their mind, okay, let's see, pull back throttle, look over here, make sure I'm within X clearance of my wingman or whatever. Then I'm going to go up, I'm going to look here. They're doing this mental checklist and it's much more conscious, right? When you do it, you're essentially, because you've ingrained this checklist in your head already, right? Over the years, right? Yeah. You're basically, okay, I'm going to do this one maybe a little faster because I know this guy goes a tiny bit faster than usual. I'm just going to do this one. I don't know, maybe it's cloudy or it's extra bright. You make that adjustment on top of all the checklists you have internally. So you're able to operate at a slightly higher level of efficiency, okay? So when you were talking about that, it really just mirrored Pong principle number 12. By the way, the numbers might change. I'm still shuffling around. Yeah, so don't get locked in as well. But you may be lucky number 7, who knows?
Yeah, let's unpack that for a second. Then I see you've got the table tennis behind you. All right. Yeah. And I love your background. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, great background. And I'm going to ask you to demonstrate some of these principles with the table tennis. What do you call it? Playing chess at 90 miles per hour?
Some people it's been called chess at 90 miles an hour because some 10,000 calculations per second occur. When that ball's coming at you, speed, spin, trajectory, placement, angle, so many calculations we're making. At the same time, speaking of checklists, you have to process all that. And then though, not only make a mechanical adjustment, but make a strategic decision. Where am I going to put the ball? How fast? What kind of spin? So you better have those checklists ingrained or else you're going to be lost in conscious thought.
Okay. So we got a couple things for the audience here. We're going to go deep into perceptions, neurology, the ability to go into a flow state, things you're talking about, right? But I got to get your opinion on a couple things. So first off, just with the jet, as you were talking about, Pong, 90 miles per hour, and these decisions you have to make. As you know, we talked about that knife edge pass. That's 1,000 miles per hour closure. So a mile every 4.5 seconds, right? So a lot's going on. You're processing a lot. And I do want to get into what the human brain's capable of processing. But just like you said, when I'm learning that maneuver, I have actually a written SOP, standard operating procedures. Where's my altitude? What's my throttle setting? Where should I be? You have parameters, right? And as you're learning those, you're consciously thinking about those. But man, that doesn't get you very far, right? Because you have to quickly not only say, yeah, these are the fundamentals, but you have to do what you said. And it only comes through, I found, experience. Okay, the more you do it, it seems like there's a certain learning curve, and all of a sudden, bam, you just feel it where you're no longer thinking, you're just being. It's this idea of being, right? You're reacting, thousands of thoughts are coming in, thousands of little corrections, but you're just in this state of immense focus, right? And I think what I like when you talked about it is that's where that creativity comes in. That's where that innovation comes in. I mean, this is when you're in your zone, right? So talk to me. Here's a couple of things that you mentioned, 1,000 inputs. I was told, and we're trying to do the research on this, that I actually had a neuroscientist on my podcast a few weeks ago. We can listen to her, but it was about, she was saying that it takes 250 milliseconds for the eyeballs and the brain to actually, what did she say? To actually react to something. So that means you only got about 4, according to her and the research, 4 times a second to process something. But you and I both know you're getting a ton more input. So I'm starting to think about, and this is what's always intrigued me, and maybe you can help in the table tennis side, is how does the human brain, what does it take in and what does it block out? Now, I was also told 65 times a second. When I snap my finger, we're able to, the human eye collects 65 frames a second. And you're a producer. I mean, so you know about that idea. And then we see through the frames and it looks like it's just an ongoing movie, but in reality, it's frame by frame by frame. So those are 2 numbers that I heard, but I'm trying to grow this. What is your understanding of that concept?
Of processing just thousands
so all
of
this
bits of
information. So just what you said, table tennis, this thing's coming at you, top spin, boom, all these things coming at you. I'm thinking about me and the jet. I got the same thing going on. But what are you able to process and what are you able to block out?
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's an interesting observation or an interesting note that my coach has talked about. Okay. She's an Olympian, former number 5 in China. Okay. She's a national champion. She's been doing this since forever. Like, okay.
By the way, who's over your right shoulder there?
This is Juan Lichin. He's one of the all-time greats. He's from China.
Yeah.
Olympian, amazing, powerful player. This is at the culmination of a put-away stroke. That's why his follow-through is way over here. And I just love his style and his power. So I put him on the wall. He's a constant sense of source of inspiration for me.
Perfect.
So my coach, she has put in her 10,000 hours plus, right, of training. Okay. She has a visual mental database of, I guess, millions of different arcs of table tennis balls, okay, going through her head. So as she sees any incoming ball, she automatically refers to this database. Oh, this one's coming this fast, make them drop down this much, it's spinning, underspin versus topspin. So she could essentially close her eyes once the ball is 2/3 of the way across the table and know instinctively where it's going to land and where she can hit it, where most people would have to follow it exactly and track it to their paddle.
Interesting.
Right? So she has so many in her database. I'm working on my database, and I have millions, not as much as her probably, but I have a lot. So that really aids you because you can extrapolate. If you have enough experience with all these data points, you don't need to actively observe all of them before you can kind of naturally connect the dots, in other words. So it's an experience issue, it's a repetition issue, it's a comfort issue. And then once you know that, okay, you know what? 2/3 of the way, now I can get my footwork correct. Now I can orient my shoulders the right way, get my elbow in the right position, where other people might be so focused on the ball that they forget about the other stuff. So that's just kind of an interesting note that.
Great job. What just hit my head was how that works in decision-making in business, decision-making in life. So let's take that concept and how can you use that to improve your decision-making?
Sure. Yeah. I've been in a lot of these global or several digital global ad agencies. And there's a certain workflow we all use, particular to each one. Each pod has a different project manager, say client relationship manager. And you notice patterns. It's almost like you have your own AI, or I guess it's just I in your own brain. And you have greater predictive ability when you know enough patterns of difficult or easy clients, difficult or easy products, successful or unsuccessful campaigns. Once you have enough of the data set, you're able to use predictive analysis more effectively and say, you know what, I've seen this before. Now, I can't predict the future, but I can at least predict some pretty high probability outcomes. And let's address those and let's plan for that. Certainly as a lawyer, we are trained for worst case scenarios, which almost never happen, but we have to be trained for that. We have to also be trained to put ourselves in the mind of our adversary, our opponent, the other parties. So we are prepared for any pitfall that might come up, any weakness in our case. So it allows you, before the ball gets to you, to pretty much be ready for it within a greater degree of accuracy. So the ball would be the attitude of your adversary, the attitude of your colleagues, the approval rate of your client, if that makes sense.
Wow, so many thoughts just hit my head. I mean, number one, this ability, when I was in venture capital in the early days of Silicon Valley, we used the same thing, pattern recognition. You know, you see certain business plans, whether you're a lawyer or you're a VC, what are the certain patterns? Who's the team? Have they actually experienced defeat before? You know, have they actually failed at something? Because you usually learn more from your failures than you do your success.
That's another Pong principle right there.
Yeah, I like to hire a CEO who's failed, had challenges, right? Because they hopefully they've learned from them, right? And that's something you want to make sure. But what I also noticed is, in a lot of our decision making, after you have that pattern recognition, there are some unknowns out there. And I found that a lot of time my decision was, I kind of knew what direction I was going to go. Let's say we're going to fund the deal or not. But instead of trying to find the information that is going to support that decision, I actively looked at canceling out the what ifs, right? The information that would actually be out there that I want to rule out. And then I realized that by doing that, you get back to usually where your initial decision was, or if you don't, you realize I shouldn't make that decision. So that was a technique that I used in VC, and I use it in my life, you know, going forward. How did you use your decision making? And I want to go back to the ad agencies, right? Where you had to come up with these incredibly innovative campaigns, or even not even innovative, but a campaign that's powerful, right? How did you use that process of recognition but uniqueness at the same time?
A lot of it boils down to research and starting with listening. Because you need to walk into that room with kind of a blank slate. You bring your experience and your bias and your own talents, but you better not bring them too pre-baked into the room. That's what I learned. Start with listening. Say, why are we here? Why are you here, Mr. and Mrs. Client? And let's see what you want, where you want to end up. What's your present state? What's your desired state?
Oh, I like that.
And let's fix that delta. How can we get there the best way? And then, and only then, we go back and say, well, here's what we have to offer tailored to what you need. So it's not like, yo, here I am. I'm the man. I can solve all your problems before I even listen to them. So you start with listening. We do it, you know, do a competitive analysis. What are the other guys doing? What's working, what's not? What have we done? What's worked, what's not? And you already touched on another Pong principle, which is you learn more from your losses than your wins. Your losses sting. They sting hard. I mean, I still remember specific points and sequences of points from 15 years ago. I don't have nightmares about them, but I remember them. And my wins, I think they can stick with you because they don't stick with you quite as much because they're, I mean, yeah, they're cherished moments. But sometimes you ascribe that to your own talent more than luck, more than it was just the matchup. But the losses, you know exactly, usually, a lot of times, you know exactly what you did to screw up. And that's instrumental. I'm veering off to another point, but it reminded me of that.
Yeah, no, perfect. You know, I think about, I like to call it the high performance zone, just what you said, desired state, future state. And I was being taught in the Naval War College by someone who worked with Henry Kissinger in the National Security Association, NSA, right? And they said, agency, and they said, here's what they would do. Exactly what you just said. This could be a world crisis problem like COVID, let's say, or it could be a simple, what do I need to do for the next week kind of problem. But the idea was, first off, where is your current state? Come up with what the future state is. But here's what I found unique, and I thought this is it, is he said, give me 3 scenarios to fix that, to close the gap. One is if you have no constraints. So there's no constraints. Here's how we'd approach this problem. And then the third one would be, okay, under severe constraints, how do we approach the problem? They could be financial, resources, people, whatever, right? And then come up with something in the middle, and then you'd make your decision. So I just wanted to share that. But hey, I can't wait to see you play some. So let's do this. If you're ready, can we go behind you with that table and show us? And now again, most of this is audio, so we'll keep talking, right? But let's see how you put some of those principles into play. We only talked about one of the principles, so feel free, grab any principle you want and show me your skills, brother.
Okay, so let's see. Let's talk about, or I'll show you one of my favorite ones, which is, it's a rhythm game. Okay. Principle 19. I talked with Scott Page about this, the legendary bass and saxophone player from Pink Floyd. Nice. And we talked about rhythm certainly affects table tennis. It affects life. It affects business, relationships. So you have to, and I'll show you, you have to get comfortable with your own rhythm, what works for you.
Yeah.
Get comfortable with your opponent's rhythm or your colleague's rhythm.
Yes.
It's not always adversarial.
Right.
And then there's an interplay, and you need to play well with each other. I hope you can still hear me okay.
Yeah, we'll boost the sound, but go for it.
So first off, we all have our own distinct rhythm. There's no one best way to execute rhythm in table tennis. Everyone has their own rhythm, okay? So for me, I like to play early off the bounce.
Wow, for those who are just not watching this, he's got a machine that is pumping out incredible speed of balls. And right now, Justin is killing it, man. Nice job. Yeah, come back to the audio. Awesome job.
Okay, so could you hear me over there?
A little bit, and I will boost it up, but I'll
go back. But so if you could see, if you could kind of remember, I like to play a little early off the bounce. It's a little aggressive. The ball is on the rise. Okay, that's my rhythm. Now, some people play top of the bounce. Some people play a little behind the bounce. I'll show you right now.
Okay. So 3 different scenarios. Here comes the balls.
Kind of mid-level rhythm.
Got it. Got it.
Move backward. More relaxed rhythm.
Wow. Okay. All right, man. Justin, come on back. You're killing it, man. So for everybody that's not watching, all right, talk to me about the rhythm completely changed from that earlier demonstration.
Yeah.
What?
Okay. So I did 2 different rhythms. Then I did the top of the bounce rhythm, and then towards the little after the top. Those are rhythms that I need to get comfortable with myself.
Yeah.
What's naturally my way to express that? Then when I'm playing an opponent, I need to understand, I need to suss out what is his or her rhythm that they're comfortable with. Okay.
Right.
It depends. Is this warm up or is a match? If it's warm up, it's collaborative because you want to keep the rally going as long as possible. You're not trying to generally put it away. Right. So then you need to get a collaborative rhythm. Okay. In a match, there is a little bit of rhythm you get going with your strokes. Then you also need to know, okay, what am I comfortable with? What are they comfortable with? And then you need to know when to break the rhythm intentionally to put them off their game. And that's where it can get very tricky. That's where it requires a good sense of timing, a certain level of aggression, strategy, and planning. On the flip side, in business, there's a rhythm to every project, every bit of communication. Yes. There's a cadence, whether it's approval cycles, communication cycles, update cycles, team meeting cycles, right? So you need to know what you work best with, whether it's text me as soon as you know there's a problem, or email me at the end of the day with a summary, or give me weekly updates if you're overseas and I don't need to be in contact much. Different, that's what's comfortable for you, but you better also know what works with your team and express that to them, what works with your client, with your adversaries, right?
Right.
And then when to break that, when it's like, you know what, guys, this isn't working. We need to adjust this rhythm. Here's an example. One of the largest agencies I work for, you don't need to know the name, we would have huge contracts with some military operations, with the largest telcos, with banks. We would throw giant teams at a highly technical issue and marketing issues. We were known as getting great product out the door, tight, very few bugs, if any. But it was expensive. And so what we had aggressive timelines with large teams. We used an agile workplace methodology, which is high touch, constantly iterating. And we would initially set out, okay, here's the timeline. Let's say 9 months for a giant database and website and marketing channel setup, everything. Their decision makers would say, okay, yeah, sure, that sounds good, good, check off, would sign it. Here we go. Almost inevitably, depending on the client, we would outstrip their capacity to review and approve our progress, because we knew ourselves, our rhythm. We thought we knew theirs, but it was very common that they just didn't work at the same speed. Okay. Yep. So it's okay. Yep. Here's release 4.2 is ready next week. It's like, oh, you know what? Our VP of product is in Singapore for 2 weeks at a conference. He or she, they're not able to even review this until like, a month from now. We're like, well, there goes the schedule. We need to do a change order. We have to reallocate our resources. It's going to be a little more money or more time. They're like, well, we have no choice. Sure. And so inevitably would end up extending these timelines. And it didn't look as good for us. We were still getting paid and they didn't seem to mind often. It's like, well, okay, I guess it's going to be 1.5 years total instead of a year for this project. And they just, it was surprising, but it happened a lot. And so that's just an example of where that's actually an overlap of two things we talked about: the predictive analysis, like, you know what, I've seen this before. It may well happen again. And the rhythm, our rhythm is different from their rhythm. When do we need to really break this? When should we stick to it? How do we understand their rhythm better and explain that to them, or get in sync better?
Oh, that's so helpful, because I'm going through that right now. And I think most business people are, right? There's different rhythms. Like what you mentioned, agile. I think on the Blue Angels, we were an agile operation. Okay. I mean, we were making quick decisions and putting them into place quickly. If an airplane broke, they had less than 24 hours to get that fixed and up and running. And my maintenance crew never failed on this. To this day, this is the 75th anniversary, by the way, of the Blue Angels. I'll be going back and having a reunion that's going to be on the top of the world. Okay. You can imagine 75 years of Blue Angel pilots getting together. Some big stories there, at least the ones that are still alive. Right. And, but the key is that we were able to make quick decisions, but we had a framework. So that's back to what you said, right? There was a sequence, there was a rhythm. We had briefs and debriefs. And I think about this interlocking cadence, right? This interlocking rituals and a cadence of execution. And I think I got the word interlocking rituals from you. Is that something that you talked about?
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah. So it's so important to have these interlocking rituals that have a cadence and to adjust. But you just made a really big point, is not everybody's rhythm is the same. And actually not everybody's comfortable working in that high speed, high touch decision-making process. Other people, they rather just give me the task and let me go away for a while. I know my ghostwriter, Matthew, would do that. He'd say, because I'm like, I want solutions now. Let's brainstorm this right now. And he's like, whoa. So what's interesting is that I do think this is what's key. I'm hearing you say is we do need to know our own rhythm. That's Sun Tzu, right? Know yourself. you need to know the other person's rhythm too. Okay. That's know your enemy. I don't like the word enemy. I like what you said, colleague, right? Because this is more about teams, right? And then the key is once you know both of those, then you'll have the decision making to put in a rhythm that works. But now what you just said, and let's dive in this a little bit quicker, is when to break that rhythm. Because a lot of times it's not working and you just go back to the same old problems, right? So how do you break a rhythm? What do you actually do?
Okay. I could show you again, or I could just talk to it.
Yeah, let's talk about it, because I think
yeah.
the sound. Well, you know what? Let's try it real quick, because those of you who are watching can watch real quick, but I'll be talking over you. But go for it.
Sure.
Show me one
Okay,
example.
so what you'll see me do, I'm going to establish, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to get in my comfort zone in an aggressive stance. So I'll be doing quick hits off the bounce. And then I'm going to adjust and go a little slower because maybe my opponent has a different rhythm. And then I'm going to go back and put it away with an aggressive change of rhythm. Okay, so it's going to be aggressive, slower, and then put away with a change in rhythm. Okay, so this is
nice. You got to watch this on YouTube. If you're just listening, we'll have this clip on YouTube. Here we go. So there's the aggressive. Okay, now he's changed to more of the back stuff. And let's see when the put away comes in here. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Dang it, man. Justin, you look like your mentor behind you with those last put away shots, man.
There you go. So hopefully what you saw there, I started off a little aggressive as I was, where'd my ball go? So I'm back. Okay, so I started off pretty aggressive in my comfortable rhythm off the bounce, right? And then I kind of adjusted because let's say my opponent was more of a mid-level shooter. So I kind of lulled him into a little more comfort. Okay, I backed up a little bit, took the ball off the top of the bounce. And then the last three shots, okay, you know what? Now that he's feeling comfortable in his rhythm, I don't want him to feel comfortable anymore. So then I moved in and did some very aggressive, flatter shots right off the bounce, which hopefully got him off guard and wins the point. So that was just a quick example of that.
It's perfect. Now let's make a business analogy or a relationship analogy to that exact, those 3 points.
Okay. Okay. Let's say you're doing a soft, well, let's say you're doing a hybrid social media campaign for a theme park. Okay. And you have a 3-month rollout plan for the campaign development. Okay. And your team is offshore. Let's say there's a team in Hong Kong and a team in Venezuela doing some coding, some graphics. And every week you get together, the project manager in your office, and you say, okay, let's review this, how we're doing on this, because it's a lot of heavy lifting with the graphics and the scripting and all that, all the components. You have a meeting planned 3 weeks later with the client to show them, we're going to be like halfway through the prototype. Okay. Maybe it's like a series of 10-second, 20-second, 30-second quick videos for social media, autoplay, or, TikToks, 5-second sequences, whatever. And then you meet with them 3 weeks later and they say, oh yeah, this is a good start. Yeah, keep going this way. Oh, we kind of like it. We'll see. You meet with them 3 weeks after that, and they're like, wait, this is totally, this is not really what we talked about. I mean, we liked where you were headed, but I mean, what's the deal with, the yellow zebra? And I mean, where'd that come from? And I didn't think we were going to have like a beach scene, because this is like in the mountains. This isn't, I don't get it. You realize, wow, you know what? This 3-week checkpoint cadence is not working, because we can go down so many false roads, so many rabbit holes that take a lot of retracing because it's technical and it's coding and it's graphics. Let's speed up the rhythm. Let's be much more agile. And this is a very basic situation. Let's meet internally with our designers every 2 days, see where they're headed, and we'll meet with the client every week. So you're going to adjust 2 parallel tracks of rhythm that condense them. That way, you're not going to get too off course. And maybe even twice a week with the client. We'll see how it goes. That way, you're constantly course correcting, and you're never going to get too far off in any particular direction because you've tightened that, tightened the scope of error, right? You're tightening the tolerances, basically.
Yep.
You know, so that's very general, but hopefully gives you.
No, but we need some generalities because you just helped me in some of my business relationships with partners and stuff like that, right? How do you, if the rhythm is not working for those quick decision makings, you know, how do you get back on the page? We call that a debrief, right? So you would have a debrief and you would sit there and say, okay, you know, first is the safe environment, meaning there's respect. Okay. I may disagree with you, but I'm going to listen, right? I respect. The second is check your go to the door. This isn't about being right. This is more about working together. This is about getting to a better solution. It's not about me being right and you wrong or vice versa, right? The third one, though, is laying on the table. And this is, let's talk about the problems. Let's talk about the issues, okay? And then the fourth one is, now we got to take accountability for it. And that's the inward look. That's the personal responsibility. But here's the thing that most people, I think, miss is it's not enough just to do your job. Okay. It's not enough just to be personally responsible on your deliverables. It's the end outcome. You got to own the outcome, and you got to own the outcome with your teammates. Okay. If I'm flying with 6 jets and we have 1 pilot off, yeah, the 5 of us could just say, you know, hey, we were in position, you fix it. You know, that doesn't work. I mean, we have to help. We have to have a debrief and you help get that person. And maybe the answer is we all loosen up. Maybe that person's not able to fly as tight that day, right? And if you notice that, we'll just loosen up. But then guess what? You don't stay back there. Okay. You say, okay, you comfortable? We got it back together. Good. Here we go. And that's back into that change rhythm that you're talking about. That's into, now let's get back into it and push it. One thing I've realized, and tell me about this in your life, is not everybody can do that well, okay? Some people just are not willing to make the effort, because it is effort, to push back in. So how do you deal with that?
Well, that's where psychology and motivation play in. That's where it's about coaching people to contribute to their best. And then cumulatively, you have a lot of bests in your group collectively rising above everybody, right? So it's a synergy, realizing that someone may be brought in, kind of like let's say a basketball team. Not everyone is a Kobe or a LeBron or a Steph Curry. You need the role players. They're not expected to get more than 8 points a night, but they're a kick-ass rebounder. And in fact, if they're scoring more than 8 points a night, there might be something wrong with your team dynamics. It's like, look, you're a rebounder, just go get 15 rebounds and don't worry about the rest, because focus on what you do. It's like and this is another Pong principle, which is basically hit home runs. If you're a home run hitter, don't worry about base running, meaning, okay,
I like that. By the way, I love your principles are not, you know, these esoteric stuff. This is real life. I love what you just did. So tell me that again. Hit home runs.
If you're a home run hitter, if you're a power hitter, hit for power and practice hitting for power. So the incremental gain, let's say Albert Pujols, okay?
Yeah.
Or
by the way, I was just with Albert. Tony La Russa has an event once a year in Vegas. He raises a lot of money for his charity called ARF, which is Animal Foundation Rescue or something like that. Oh. And yeah, he's had me speak at it many years. We actually just got back from Vegas a few months ago, and he was one of the first people to bring everyone together. It was actually like 6 months ago. But and Albert's a great friend of Tony La Russa. You can imagine. I mean, they manager, player, but go for it. So Albert, by the way, for everyone who's listening, just the kindest, most thoughtful individual. I mean, big, strong guy, but is just very kind, I think is the word I would use for Albert.
Oh, that's cool to hear, because I've only seen him from afar.
Hey, everybody. So that was just a safety by Gucci. I didn't exchange my battery out beforehand, and we'll fix it. So we're back with you, Justin and I and everybody. Hey, Justin, we're talking about the principles, right? And I want to go back to those principles here in a little bit, but there's so many other aspects in your life that you're involved in and doing something. And tell me a little bit about what's meaningful to you right now. Where do you put your energy?
Well, as I referenced before, I used to be a lawyer, then a marketing strategist, then a filmmaker, balanced a bunch of ventures. Now I'm kind of fusing those into one of these. One of my main energy focuses right now is a company that I've created that promotes fitness and community through ping pong, because I've realized the magic. There's some magic of this sport. Almost everybody in this country and certainly around the world, it's the #2 sport in the world by participation.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Table tennis, the #2 sport in the world.
Some 40 million competitive players and vastly more recreational players are out there. It's incredible. And so in this country,
and here's a little fun fact for our audience. Air shows, I think, is #1 or #2 most outdoor spectator event. More people attend air shows in an outdoor spectator event than anything in the world. And I think it's rivals NASCAR, I think is the other one that has the huge attendance. But I never knew that from a participant. So what's #1? What's #1?
Soccer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or for our European folks, football.
Yeah. So you've been seen by millions and millions of people in your air shows. Yeah. Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. It's over 1 million a year every time the Blue Angels fly. And lately it's even well more than that. It's like about 10 million a year. And you know what's cool is we're starting to have that same impact with our social and our presentations now. And I think that's cool when we have, it's not at that level yet, but the ability to impact so many people. That's why this podcast, I think, is so important, right? To help others by just sharing your knowledge and sharing your information. And here's the key is you have to forward it on, pay it forward, right? I did another interview earlier this morning and we talked about giving someone a $20 tip, but saying, and they didn't want to take it. This is for helping someone in and out of a car, right? And saying, but it's not for you. It's so you can pay it forward, or you can make it to somebody else. And I always leave and my wife taught me how to do this. When I leave a hotel room, I always leave a tip for the maid, but it's a $20 tip. And I picture in my mind the smile on her face or his face when they find this, right? And anyhow, so
my wife taught me the same thing.
Did she?
I wouldn't necessarily thought of it. It's like, yeah, you tip the hardworking people who are cleaning up after your mess in the hotel room.
Well, here's another technique. Try this. I actually make my bed. Okay. I actually clean up. I put the towels, I fold them. I put them in one little place. I make my bed. I do that anyhow. A great Navy Admiral SEALs, they had a book called Make Your Bed, right? Or,
yep.
But it's the idea of, for them though, I want them to go in there and go, did anybody even sleep in this? I want them to question it, but then of course I leave one thing unruffled so they know that, yeah, they did. I need to change it. Right. But I love that. Here's the other thing I've learned. I always turn out the lights, especially when you're late, you're late to your car to get to the airport and you're running out of the room. And I go, oh crap, I left that light bulb on in the corner. I go back there because I want someone to respect my business too, right? And if I can save them a little money by just turning a light off, then I know that's going to come back to me someday. So just some techniques, Sharon. How about you?
That's great. What in terms of what?
No, just like little techniques you do to help out others. And by the way, it's kind of cool. We both learned these from our wives. They typically are more tuned in.
Keep us in line. I was raised by essentially 4 moms. I have 3 amazing, dynamic, smart older sisters and an amazing mom. So my dad's great too, but I had a lot of powerful, awesome women in my life. And so
nice.
I think they kind of helped keep me in line.
Give me 1 or 2 lessons that you learned from your mom.
And besides always put the toilet seat down.
Okay. Well, that's the first one. Yeah.
I think it's about relating to people in just an honest, grateful way. Like when you show up at a party, don't just kind of show up, because I would go with my parents or my sisters to a party, and I would just like, hey, if I'm in junior high or high school, I would just walk in like, oh, cool. Oh, there's the chips and guacamole. Cool. Let's say, what are you doing? Let's go seek out the host, say hello properly, and look him in the eye and say, wow, thanks for having us over. This is great. And maybe ask if there's something we can help them with or whatever. Oh, there's a bunch of people clogging the parking lot. Do you want us to help, make sure that's going easier so we can help you out, whatever, rather than just coming in and helping us ourselves with the chips and guacamole. That's just one example I remember. So I always try to make a positive presence in a polite way when I enter an event, rather than just like, hey, cool, I'm here. Where's the drinks?
Right. Thinking of others. Hey, you were talking about, I think it's PongFit, right?
Yeah.
What is that, your company?
Yeah. So PongFit, that's the company where we help anybody, a school, a community, a rec center, a YMCA, build up their sense of community and their sense of fitness through ping pong. Because like I was saying, there's a certain magic to it. It has a way of bringing people together. It's a non-threatening activity. My dad is 94. My mom is 89. They still play.
Oh, they both still alive?
Yeah, they're doing great.
That is so cool.
And
they play ping pong. They play.
They're darn. They were my first teachers when I was 6. I begged them when I could barely see over the table, play more, play more, play more. And they're pretty good. But so at any level, I call it the most inclusive sport in the world, because there's wheelchair players, there's disabled players, that you can be 8 years old, you could be 98 years old. Doesn't matter your religion, your income, your geography, your ability, your height, your weight, whatever, you can play.
By the way, the interview I did earlier, and people will probably have listened to it, is Chad Hymas, and he's a quadriplegic. And he is one of the most amazing and inspirational people I've been around. I should have asked him if he played table tennis, but anyhow, keep going. Go for it.
So, I mean, that's great though. And it is amazing. And it's so inspiring to see where, like, I've seen a 9-year-old girl who probably literally weighed 74 pounds destroy a professional hockey player who's like 26 at table tennis. Yeah, because I mean, think about any other sport, lacrosse, basketball, baseball, hockey, swimming. It's going to be pretty hard for someone of her stature to beat a professional male athlete who's 26 in his prime. And they were both talented. They're both healthy. They're both driven, but she just had more training than him, and she destroyed him. And it was really cool. So that's kind of rare.
Great example. Okay, let's think about real quick. Give me an example in life where you've seen that, not just in table tennis, where somebody who, let's say, is the underdog, maybe not the same physical or mental capacity. Give me an example in life.
Let's see. Okay, there's examples. This one, I'm not sure if I can get this right, but there was a geometry problem that had been plaguing, I don't know if it was physicists or mathematicians in the world of kind of spatial geometry and some kind of maybe architectural science. Okay. And there was a contest just put out, like, okay, let's see what kind of bright minds we can have solve this. And they were expecting academics, maybe physics students from MIT or something, to solve it. It turned out that there was a quote unquote housemaker, a woman who had no formal training, who solved this problem better than anybody. I don't remember the details of this. I wish I did.
That's so cool.
And she just had a natural ability and desire, and was motivated because it's like, hey, she had some spare time, and she thought, I can contribute. I think I can do this, and she enjoyed it. She sent in her application. It's like, yeah, this is the best, most efficient solution. We do not expect it from you. And I wish I had more details of that. I'll have to look that up.
No, I'm with you. I hit you out of left field. There's so many things in life where the underdog, the person who, quote, doesn't have the degree or doesn't have the training, has the best idea. By the way, a lot of men homemakers now too, right? That's what's kind of cool. And I found that we're all more similar than we are dissimilar. You know, the more we talk, the more I get to interview people like yourself all around the world is, you know, we connect more to what's important in our heart. And one of the things that I'm impressed about you is the STEM, what you do for trying to help get STEM further in education. Tell me a little bit about that passion of you.
Sure. Well, one of the companies I'm deeply involved with is called Carrot, and we get kids excited about STEM careers, STEM learning.
STEM means what?
Oh, science, technology, engineering, and math. And actually, we expand that to be STEAM these days.
Oh, really?
Putting the arts in there, because a company like Apple, they wouldn't be where they are without the A for art, because it's elegant design, graphics, the beauty of the product is really what it makes that stand above, as well as the science behind it, right? So it's STEAM.
Oh, STEAM. Give me the 5 again. So it's
science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics.
There you go. That's where the world's going. I'm so glad so tell me, how are you helping people like that?
All right. So first of all, as a dad of 2 boys, they love rocketry and robotics and science and math. And I had a great time. They're smarter than me, man. But we had a great time building robots as kids, and they did all sorts of architectural projects, and now they're both studying sciences in college. So I loved watching their curious minds at work. And so this company that I'm involved with, we will run incentivized prizes, competitions like X Prize. I don't know if you're familiar with X Prize, but I used to work there. Okay. X Prize runs.
You worked there during the
I used to work there. I used to work at X Prize several years ago, and I was director of their digital strategy. Okay. So how we outreach all these different audience segments to join up and join our competitions and follow us and just help move the needle. Basically, they would solve humanity's great challenges through crowdsourcing innovation. Okay. So we use that model at Carrot to say, hey, look, we'll go to school district and say, we're going to have a challenge for the students about ocean health or clean drinking water or literacy. Okay. We run a competition with cool prizes, like an innovation tour of a city, or we'd take them to the headquarters of Hyperloop, whatever. And we would.
I remember being at a presentation. I don't mean to interrupt you real quick, but Hyperloop. You just mentioned Hyperloop. I remember, I think it was 5 years ago. One of the initial investors or founders of the Hyperloop concept was given a talk about how this was going to change cities. It was just a small group of 20 of us investors in where was it? It was Salt Lake City. It was Park City during the Sundance Festival. But real quick, Hyperloop, what is that concept? Real quick.
Oh, so that's vacuum tubes essentially that could be underground, but I think now they're basically just above ground. A sealed tube, essentially, like the old pneumatic tubes that mail slots would be used in the old office.
They use those on the aircraft carrier too.
Oh, really? Okay. Wow.
They used to, but go ahead.
So basically you're firing this capsule bullet at high speed with passengers inside and cutting transportation times like by 80%. I mean, it's incredibly efficient once it's up and running. And so that's an operation. I think there's 2 competing Hyperloop ventures right now. But
what's interesting, it reminds me of the Jetsons. Remember the show, the Jetsons? I mean, you think about that, it's capable. We're capable of doing that today. Obviously, there's a lot of constraints, not just cost, but getting those connections between cities. But it'll happen. But back to what you.
Okay, so with Carrot, the programs we run, we're using an X Prize model to tap into the kids' natural curiosity and a little bit of competitive spirit. And then we use a lot of esports because they love playing video games, but it's beyond that. The esports, that's a Trojan horse, basically, because we say, hey, kids, let's have a competition amongst your whole school district. Who wants to play Overwatch or Minecraft? But they're not just playing video games. They are learning because we bring in professional game designers and coders and developers from these large game companies. Say, hey, look, here's my career. It's all based on understanding the back end of this game. So they can actually, these high schoolers can actually get college credit, learn, compete, win prizes for their school. And so it's kind of win-win because they're having fun, but the educators are happy about it, and the parents as well, because it's not just playing video games.
Yeah.
It's learning cooperation amongst their teammates. Talk about rhythm. They have to meet, they have to coordinate, they have to strategize, but they're having fun playing games and learning what's behind the game, what's the coding and what's the career path. So it's really fun to watch these kids get so excited. And because we need to home grow more STEAM engaged kids. We can't just keep importing because that's not a sustainable model.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's the people want more information there. It's go, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was on the site. It's beautiful. There's so many things you're involved in. The last one I want to talk about before we wrap up is you're emphatic. Okay. Talk to me about branding. I mean, look at, people, they're probably going, wait a minute, how many companies does this guy own? All right. But talk to me about emphatic.
Emphatic is all about, hey, why be mild when you can be emphatic, right? So it's building your personal and business statement, feeling comfortable with really who you are, just like that Pong principle, the rhythm, get your own comfortable rhythm, and then you can address others, and then you can address the world, and then you know when to stick with it and when to break it and make the biggest impact, okay? So with emphatic, it's about meeting in between who you are, because no message exists in a vacuum, okay? So I need to know who I am and what I offer in the marketplace. I also need to understand what the marketplace wants and needs and is looking for. And then you meet in the middle, and that will ultimately provide the strongest foundation. Because we've all seen companies, product services who march out the door and say, here we are, this is what we have to offer, we're fantastic. And it's going to fall flat if no one's even looking for that, and no one needs that. And then on the converse, it's like, oh, all the research in the world tells you what the audience is looking for, what consumers need, but then you try to be something you're not and offer them something you're just kind of posing. They're going to sniff that out pretty soon because it's not authentic, right? So you need to bring your authentic self, but match it up with an authentic need. Okay? And just cut to the heart of that, cut to the chase. And emphatic, we have developed just a few ways to kind of streamline that process, bring our talents to it, but also extract what makes you unique and special to make the maximum.
So let's do a quick case study on me. Okay. So I'm wearing my glad to be here shirt. And that's my brand, right? Glad to be here. So authentic, grateful, gratitude. But how would you take me through this branding exercise real quick?
Okay, well, I would start with listening and observation. So I would conduct some interviews, structured interviews, but then casual interactions with you. And ideally, I would go maybe have a beer with you and just kind of get to know you as a person. I would also do background research on what you've already said before. See your track record, see your arc, where you came from, because you didn't just come from the Blue Angels and writing a book. You came from a Division I football background at Navy. That's affected who you are and how you think. And then you had a high school background before then. So I would look at your whole arc, right? And using a predictive analysis, like the arc of a ping pong ball, I would see where's your natural next step? Where's your arc taking you? So that's your authentic flight path in your terms, okay? And then I would see, okay, and then what is the audience looking for? What's going on these days? We're shifting from on-site workforces to more remote working. Maybe there's a product or service that people are shifting to, streaming versus in-theater experiences, in media, whatever, right? Maybe, and of course I'd ask you, what do you feel comfortable offering? Do you want to go on a speaking tour? Do you want to write more books? Do you want to create a school to teach your leadership principles, right? Whatever you're looking for, find that authentic, true path but also that taps into your talents. Match it up with that incoming track of the audience, what they might really benefit from. Find that center point, to use your terminology, and find the strongest way to express it.
Beautiful.
That's the general framework.
Yeah. I hope everybody learns from that. Apply that exact arc that you just said to what everyone. And if you want real help, call Justin, man. Call Emphatic, right? To make a connection.
Now, I should say, I don't try to balance all these things at once. There's a lot going on in my life. So I'm really focusing a lot on the table tennis side with PongFit, because we can help so many communities and law firms and senior centers with fitness, workplace wellness, and bringing the community together. That's what I'm really focusing on, as well as the book, and also the STEAM ventures. I use emphatic methodology all the time, but I'm trying to focus more maybe on the other two, because I don't want to be stretched too thin. That drives me crazy.
Well, I can see your arc, right? I mean, I'm seeing your arc in what you've done in your life, and I love where you're going, because not only are those meaningful, they're going to help a lot of people. I mean, and it's nice when you can do both, right? Do something that you're passionate, but that actually make a big difference. I want to wrap up with just a couple of life skills. I like to end with, give me a couple of life skills, either sayings, mantras, something you've read, but that you live your life by.
All right. Well, I often, to finish up the Albert Pujols example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Again, know yourself, know your game, and then you'll be able to optimize your impact in the world. Because if you're trying to be someone else, it's just going to fall flat. Okay. So if you're a home run hitter, if you're a power hitter, practice your power, expand your power, hit more home runs. You may be a slow base runner. Okay. So try to get faster. Fine. But that's not your natural ability. That's not your natural God-given talent. If you practice a lot of base running skills, you might incrementally increase your weakness, and you should, a little bit. But if you're naturally powerful and you have good technique, just increase that, and you will hit, even if you hit 10% more home runs, that's immediately 10% more runs, right? But if you get 10% faster, they may not, if you're slow, it may not translate into the same impact on the field. Okay. So expand your power areas. Okay. That's one. Another is, I often sign off my emails, hit hard, have fun, play fair. Okay. Hit hard, have fun, play fair. In that order. Hit hard means if you're going to go for something, go for it. Jump in fully, commit. Don't go halfway. Be emphatic, right? Have fun. Make sure it's enjoyable, because that will allow you to commit. That will allow you to persevere. That'll allow you to manage the hard times. Because if you're having fun, you'll put up with a lot, and it's still cool. Play fair. Make sure you have your ethical boundaries and your moral boundaries in place beforehand, because then when you are encountered with that inevitable dispute or conflict, you will easily be able to see, okay, this is my line. I'm not going to cross this, rather than kind of make it up on the fly. And people will appreciate that too.
I like that. We were working with a healthcare group. They're part of our training program. Every week we do a leadership training with their top leaders, and they've got a huge challenge in front of them that's going to challenge their whole existence. They're basically, the state is going down to 2 companies, and they're one of 7 right now. And only 2 are going to survive, right? But what's cool is that they're in that group, and so they're in a lot of stress, right? And so they're helping us to we're helping them come up with a mantra. We were doing some connection, and my teammate Mercedes just wrote the CEO this mantra yesterday, and she said, "Wake up, kick ass, eat grit for breakfast, lunch, and dinner." And the CEO just loved it, because he's like, wow, that's perfect. So I love these kind of mantras, wake up, kick ass, eat grit for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I like that too.
So why don't we do this? Let's add with, I always like to end with a glad to be here. What does glad to be here mean to you right now?
It means really shutting everything else out and enjoying the moment. Right now, this is my world. There can only be one moment, and we're doing it right now. Nothing else matters right now. And I'm glad to be in it.
Man, thanks for that. We just broke up glad to be here. You could say glad, gratefulness, appreciation, to be, which is actually your higher self. What do you choose to be today? How do you choose to show up? And the here is the present moment right now, and I really appreciate, Justin, you doing that. All right. Or Paulie. Hey, Paulie, I really appreciate it.
Hey, Paulie.
Hey, Pally. That's right. It's Pally. Yeah. Hey, Pally. Thanks for being with us. Incredible what you've done and are currently doing. We'll make sure in the show notes, people can get to those websites. If you had and your new book, I know you're just creating that, right? So we definitely, I'm impressed. The 20 Principles of Pong. We're not sure if that's the final title yet, right? But I'm really impressed with everything you're doing. What's the best way people can get a hold of you?
They can go to emphatic.com. That's EMFATIK, just a funny way of spelling emphatic, EMFATIK.com. And, read about our philosophy of how to tackle issues. And that's a great way to get a hold of me.
All right, brother.
Or they can also go to pongfit.org. It's not, instead of CrossFit, it's PongFit.
There you
PongFit.org. And that's how we are impacting the community through the magic of ping pong. So however you want to do it, go for that.
All right. All right. Justin, thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here. Thanks, buddy.